I don't think this today's session alone is going to cut it, because I don't know a lot about it. And if you're like me and don't know, then we need to go deeper into this. And I was talking to someone after we came up, and they say it's a lot. As a matter of fact, Keisha, who is a co-host, Keisha works into that field. And she said there is a whole lot of things to learn about this special behavior. Alone is gonna cut it. So because I don't know a lot so about we're gonna it. Get like me and don't know. We're gonna get more information, and we may need to do a part 3 and a part 4. But we have Miss Monique Kassner with us, and in a little while I'm gonna turn it over to her. Amen. Praise God. So I'm going to hand it over to you. And I want to welcome you again and welcome everyone that is here. Amen. And I would like to ask a question, because I remember when I was growing up, my mother and my mother and another woman have children. I think they were like, we were either a week apart or a month apart, and he had Down syndrome. And so I'm familiar with people with Down syndrome, and his father took him to work with him. It was a boy, and his father was a mechanic, and he taught him to do the trade of a mechanic. And then when he got older, he came to our church. And I remember one time there was another guy with Down syndrome that tried to be a member of our church, and he said, no, this is my church. You go somewhere else and find your church. And before there was such thing as armor bearer, when the pastor pull up in the parking lot, he would run outside and get the pastor's briefcase. He would not allow him to carry the briefcase. He would go and get his briefcase and carry it and put it inside. And he told the other guy who had Down syndrome, you go find your church, but this is my church and you cannot come here. And that guy tried to come back another time, and he almost fight him. He said, this is my church and you cannot come here. And so he died, but his death was accidental. He was sitting on a ledge, and he fell over backward, and that's how he died. But his mother died, his father died, everybody else grown and went away, and he was living by himself. And he was working, but he worked as a mechanic. And when he worked, he had a large funeral. People were coming to his funeral because we just got used to him like that. And like you said, treat them like normal people. So I want to start off and ask by to me, there is a surge in autism, because like in the 90s, I didn't know anything about no autism. And it seems like when you touch the 2000s, then just like you hear about children that are autistic and that child, that was not something that when I was growing up with, I was familiar with, or have any interaction with children who were like that. So I want to start off by asking that when did this thing become so prevalent, and so or was it always there and not being talked about, because now it's now commonplace?
Yeah, I think that you hit the subject, the answer right there, where what we didn't recognize autism in those days. We can recognize Down syndrome. They have physical features that are different, or the severely developmentally disabled. We can see that. But in the typical autistic child, they were probably considered to be the slow kids in the classroom.
Okay, so they were around.
Yeah, but you know what? There's the prevalence is increasing, because in 2020 it was 1 in 44 children were diagnosed as autistic. Now it's 1 in 36 for 2023. So there's more autistic children being diagnosed as such. Now, is it because that the tools to diagnose are better? Or is there more children being born with autism? They really don't know. Let's see. So yeah, that I see right here is exactly what I just said, because there's a greater understanding and awareness of autism spectrum disorder. So that's why a lot more children are being diagnosed. So it seems like they're more prevalent because we know how to test for them. For instance, my son, who has signs of autism, you never guess it. He doesn't look autistic, he doesn't act autistic, but there's certain things like yesterday, you were mentioning about labels, tags and clothing that had to be removed, that the sensation was too much. He was one of those typical children. I have a daughter also. I had to cut the labels out. Whether or not she's autistic, I don't know. She's functioning much better than my son. But to answer your question, going back to it again, is that diagnostic tools have gotten better. They're saying there could be genetic factors and it could be environmental factors. They just don't have any answers for us. Are they exposed to more pesticides? Is that it, or genetically modified food? And is that affecting their DNA and that causing the autism? That could be. I tend to be a proponent of that, where I believe that things that food has been so modified with pesticides and gene modification that when we ingest it, it becomes part of our DNA, and that changes our being. That's why I am an advocate for organic foods for all children, for everyone, but especially for the autistic, because they're so sensitive to foods, and we don't know if it's the environment or if it's genetic or if it's a combination of the two that causes autism. It could be.
So let's go back there. So if is there a special diet or things that can be done to help like the autistic children with their nutrition and diet?
Well, there's no diet that could help autism or eradicate autism. There is no diet for that. But there are some things about the autistic that is interesting as far as their diet is concerned. They don't like, they're very sensitive to stimuli. So if a food, for instance, like tapioca pudding, the fact that it's smooth but has balls in it, the sensation could be too much for them and they can't eat it. It's not because of a dietary reason, it's because they are too much sensation for them. They say that they have gastrointestinal problems, and it could be, where I read somewhere, that they have an imbalance of microbes in their gut. So we have to be careful about what kind of food that they are eating. So that's why, and they might have food sensitivities to certain, be sensitive to certain foods. But generally, I would say they should have foods high in zinc and high in D3. I'm not a nutritionist, but those are foods that are come from legumes, beans, those kind of natural foods are. Snacks would be mixed fruits, dried fruits and nuts, almond crackers, protein bars, even peanut butter filled pretzels. Those are healthier snacks that the church can provide. My question to you is, in your church, do you have a room, a Sunday school room for children?
No, they're with the other children. And sometimes when like they cause disturbances and like the other children are not learning, that teacher will ask the parents, please, can you keep the child because I don't have enough help and they are distracting the others from learning. But we do not have, and those are the things we're here to talk today. How can we help? Because we do not have like a special teacher or somebody who will teach them at the rate that they can learn, so that they can learn about the Bible as well as the others, because they're in the same class with them. Right. And sometimes it's a problem.
Yes, and they become disruptive.
Yes.
Become disruptive. Well, if you have the facility to have a separate classroom for them, that would be optimal, with trained staff on how to intervene when they do have a meltdown. I also ask, what kind of level of functioning are they? Are they like Abigail, or are they low functioning, these other students?
I don't teach that group.
Okay.
I
Because
don't teach that group.
my question is, how much can be expected of children that are severely autistic versus those that can be taught and could learn, like students like Nadine's beautiful child, Abigail. She
Mhm.
can learn. She does learn. And she, with right guidance and prompting and support, she can learn materials about the church, about Jesus Christ, about the Bible. She can learn it. And the best thing for them to do, to teach them, is by using visual aids.
Okay.
Like, that's the one best thing. Telling them something, it's a broad concept. They won't, it'll be too hard for them to absorb that kind of information. But if they see pictures of how certain miracles occurred, or any kind of picture books or storyboards, that they can learn the stories in the Bible very, very well. That's the
Okay, going back to what you were saying before before you leave the nutrition part, would
yeah.
it be healthy for them to eat, like, say, junk food like the Doritos and stuff like that? Would that be something that would stimulate them, or to drink soda with the added sugar? Or would sugary drinks affect them and make them too hyper?
Yes, so like it would with the typical child, it raises their glucose, makes them hyper, and then it drops their glucose drops, and then they have like a sinking feeling, just like a diabetic. So it's very dangerous I think, to give children soda pop as a beverage. What's hard is to teach the children, or to introduce healthier eating to the children. If they're used to getting fast food all the time, going to crave McDonald's. So what do the parents do? Well, they can introduce, instead of chicken nuggets, could introduce fish nuggets, some different other flavor, so that the children can get used to it. Or fried mozzarella sticks, something to get away from the fried chicken, just to introduce a new food. It's a very difficult thing for parents these days, because the kids, it's a yummy food. They gravitate towards it because all the kids are having it and they want it as well. But to answer your question, do sugary drinks, are they a negative effect on the children's diet? Absolutely, positively, without question. They are not recommended. I'd rather give my child a glass of orange juice and a cup of Coca-Cola, without question, or even diet, because the additives in the artificial sweeteners, they can have a very bad effect on the children the autistic children, that we just don't know. There's a lot of theories out there, but to rule out the negativity, you say, well, let's just not give it to them until science catches up with it, because they shouldn't have artificial sweeteners, just like typical people shouldn't have artificial sweeteners. It's not good for the body. Again, it affects them on an organic level. And it could look, even if I eat something and I can't think of something, but if I eat something and then thereafter feel very low, it's because of whatever I ate, versus if I ate something that gives me energy and makes me feel like I can continue my day. So can you imagine how it would affect a child that's autistic? Because everything is so amplified for them. If they're going to feel agitated, they're going to be hyper agitated. If the caffeine in Coca-Cola agitates me, it would amplify that feeling for a child that's autistic, because they're sensory wise, they are very sensitive. It's it's heightened. Everything is heightened. Noise is heightened. Light is heightened. Caffeinated food is heightened. The effects of caffeine. So we have to be cognizant of that fact that whatever we're feeding these children is going to have an extreme effect, more of an effect on them than it would on the general population. That's my belief. I can't hear you.
Seeing that we're on the nutrition part, and would you recommend exercise or getting them outdoors for activities that will sort of not learning and say of a lower grade stimulant, and let them look at the butterflies and the flowers and the trees and have them out more like in nature, taking them to a park as opposed to sitting down and watching TV, so that they can be more what you call it now,
Proactive in their learning instead.
Right. And the breeze on their face, that would be better for them.
Oh, there's no question. That would be so much better. And even if they can't get outside, there's exercises that they should be doing rather than watching television without a question, or playing on their iPad or looking at their iPhone. There's like head, shoulders, knees, and toes, which is that, you know, that one, head, shoulders, and toes, knees and toes. There's the wheels on the bus go round and round, up and down. This is very important. There's Simon Says, put in your right foot, put out your right foot, put in your left foot, put out your right foot. And the other one is put your right foot in and put your right
foot out. Yes. Okay.
And that's learning, and that's socializing, and this is wonderful, and that's interaction. There's so many good things that happen when you're teaching children to exercise. It doesn't have to be, okay, pick up this dead weight and turn it up and down. No, it could be something as simple as doing head, shoulders, knees, and toes. That is exercise.
Okay.
In fact, when I was in the classroom, I would not expect my children to focus for a whole hour, because there was 5 of them, and I knew that they needed a break. So I would put it into chunks, the lesson. And after 15 minutes, I'd ask them, okay, let's stand up. Everybody stand up. Okay, reach for the ceiling, touch your toes, turn around, jump up and down, 5 jumping jacks, just to change it up for them, because it's so that they can continue the lesson and they can focus on what I'm about to teach them without getting bored and then, you know, the drifting off to the drone of my voice. So even me, I have a hard time if I go to a workshop to sit for an hour and be totally attentive. And I have no learning disabilities that I know of. So, you know, it's difficult it's very difficult to expect a child to be totally focused on you, a child that has autism spectrum disorder, or a typical child even, to be focused for an hour. You have to break it up. And exercise is the best thing, because they're getting more oxygen to the brain, and the blood is flowing better through their whole system. It's a whole systemic relationship that they have between the brain and the body that they need to continue to learn. I think that's the big picture. And you were talking about exercising, and then diet and nutrition. I believe that we should try to get them on more natural foods, like their legumes and black-eyed peas, fava beans, that sort of thing, to introduce these foods to them. Pumpkin seeds also, spinach and kale for D3. The 2 important vitamins or minerals, and mineral is zinc and D3 that they have to get, and they can get a lot of it from spinach. Like I said, salmon is very good. Calcium fortified orange juice is very good. Breakfast cereal, they have a lot of D3 in them. So parents have to read the labels to see exactly how much food is, how much nutrition their child is getting with the food that they're feeding them. So as far as the fast food is concerned, I would try to slowly introduce other foods to them and put it on a plate, and hopefully they'll eat some. You can say, okay, have one piece of, have a cashew, and then have your chicken nugget. So to slowly introduce the better foods to them, the legumes and that food, that's really important. And it's very easy to slip into just feeding them fast food. It's very easy, and it keeps them quiet, and it's not a good result in the end.
So on that same vein, what would be better for them then would be cooked meal rather than the processed, the canned food, or that if they get their meal, prepared meal rather than out of the can, like the spaghetti and meatball in the can, if they get their proper cooked meal.
Yes, that's asking a lot for the parents, and I understand.
I know.
I understand that, you know, they have work and they have responsibilities, but when you have a child with special needs, that is also your work. That is also your job, your calling. You have to do that job well. And if that job requires you to cook healthy meals for that child, then let's do just that. Let's fulfill their needs, because if we want them to grow into healthy human beings and to minimize the stress that they might be experiencing from improper nutrition, then we have to provide proper nutrition. Because let's not forget, like I said before, if I eat poorly, it could make me stressed. It could bring me psychologically down. It could just make me feel sluggish. Food has an effect on me as a typical person. And again, with a child that is ASD, autism spectrum disorder child, their feelings are amplified. So it'll cause too much stress on the body when the food is poor. Now, again, I'm not a nutritionist, but I'm looking at it from a general point of view, the logical point of view.
Okay, we have two questions. One in the chat, Sonia, I'm coming. Was a question in the chat before you. I notice you keep saying zinc. Is it because zinc take oxygen to the brain while you're saying food with zinc like the kale and so on? Because zinc does bring oxygen to the brain. When I'm studying, I take this supplement because it makes me more alert. So that's why for the autism, for them to get the food rich with zinc so that they can be more alert?
Yes, exactly. It's all around a good mineral, you know, that we should have zinc. You can get it out of eggs also, zinc, but that's all mixing. And dairy products like yogurt has zinc. Mm-hmm. If they can tolerate dairy products, they should have yogurt. And it would be good, you know, what I use is non-fat Greek yogurt without a sweetener, you know, mm-hmm. and just with blueberries. So it's all a learning process, but you don't have to have a pre-sweetened yogurt to make it palatable. You know, you have to teach them to like foods that are not so sweet and so salted. You know, there's no need for that.
All right, so we have one question in the chat that I'm going to ask you to answer, and then Sonia will be able to ask her own question. There was a question in the chat, what is autism? That's what causes autism. This is what we're talking about from yesterday. Today is the part 2. What is autism? What causes autism?
What causes autism?
Yes.
Good question. Autism. Let's get a general definition of autism, because that's a very big question. Okay, we need to know what causes autism. Little is known about specific causes. Okay, mm-hmm. Suggests that children may be at a greater risk of developing autism spectrum disorder if they have a sibling with ASD, having certain genetic and chromosomal conditions such as Fragile X syndrome or tuberculous sclerosis, and experiencing complications at birth, which could be a lack of oxygen.
Oxygen to the brain.
Yeah, oxygen to the brain. So to answer, the basic answer is there is no known reason or cause for autism. The basics is that there's very little specific causes. All they know that it could be attached to a syndrome like Fragile X, which I've heard about, or complications during childbirth, or it could be just a genetic, it could be a recessive part of the genes of that the child inherited. See, the situation has to be, everything has to be in order for them to get autism. So they have to have that recessive type gene, and they have to have maybe a complication during birth. Maybe they didn't get enough oxygen during all 3 trimesters. Maybe it had to do with nutrition of the mother, and maybe it has nothing to do with nothing of that. Maybe the mother had a perfect pregnancy, so it could be just a genetic thing. Now, do they get it from the environment, nature versus nurture? I don't believe that it's from the environment. I believe that it's something that the child is born with and just makes itself evident after the 3rd year of life. Actually, they can diagnose it at 18 months, but sometimes children up to age 3 can speak, and then all of a sudden they start to lose certain skills, and then they regress. And so that's a sign of autism. The regression at age 3, they could already see that. So to answer your question, what is autism? Autism, first of all, is not caused by malnutrition or food-related challenges. So it has no connection. We have to make that very clear. What was your other question? I kind of threw myself off.
It was what is autism and what
causes it. So what is autism? Autism is a condition where the individual functions at a lower IQ oftentimes, unless they are like Asperger's. It's a form of autism because it's a whole umbrella of different kinds of autism. And generally, the majority, 44% of those with autism function at an IQ of average to a little above average. So 44%, that is data from one source. The other 56% are functioning below that at a lower IQ. So that's one. Then also, how do they behave? As far as learning, they are very sensory affected. So when you're teaching them, you have to be careful of the lighting, the noise, and your voice, and the way you approach, and the number of words you use, and the material that you're teaching, and what doses are you teaching it. Everything has to be in little doses for them to learn.
All right, so would you okay, Sonia, I have a question to ask, and then Pauline. So I'll let Sonia go first. Ask a question, Sonia, then she'll be followed by Pauline.
Okay, good afternoon.
Yeah.
I take care of a 16-year-old autistic child. I've been with her for the past 10 years.
Oh.
And she does not eat food. She only eats chips.
Yeah.
Like you mean potato chips, Doritos?
Yeah, those certain chips she eats, and popcorn. So she eats cereal, but without milk. And I just started with her to eat eggs.
Oh.
But she doesn't eat the egg. She swallow it.
Wow.
I don't know if it's because of the texture. And then I started.
Oh, no, wait a minute. How do you prepare the eggs when you give it to her?
So I scramble it.
And she swallow it rather than chew it.
Right. She doesn't chew it. She swallow it. And then I started giving a piece of chicken, but I started cutting up very small, and she does the same thing. And I'm very scared of it. I make sure I always have water so that in case she should choke.
Yes.
All right. So are you introducing vegetables as well?
Okay, no, she doesn't eat the vegetables. She will eat the fruits like orange and banana I give her, and the apple.
Yes.
Those she will eat. The yogurt, I just started her with squeezed yogurt as a baby, like to squeeze to get the taste of
it.
Right. Yes. And so that she's eating the Greek one, the IQ Greek.
Yes.
And and the chicken. And oh, so what I do now, whenever I make my juice, because of the things that she likes, like I know the things that she likes. So I said, if you, so I do the juice, the vegetable juice with carrots and cucumber, everything. So I said,
Yeah.
if you want to go to the, like she want to go to the park, I said, you have to drink this juice, then you go to the park, and then she will drink the juice to go to the park. So
Yes.
So
that's how
she's
I'm
drinking
getting.
her vegetables,
Yeah,
but
so
she's
now
getting
I'm
the
getting
vegetables
her.
in drink.
Yes, now I'm trying to get her to do that. The other question I would want to ask, whenever she have a tantrum, it's hard for us to get her out of the tantrum.
Yes.
What should we like do for that?
Okay. Why did she get into the tantrum is my question.
Sometimes, okay, like normally when she see her period, gets her period,
Oh,
she really go into a mood,
yes.
or sometimes she wants something and she can't express herself. Then she
Right.
throw herself on the ground and she beat herself, or like her foot, not her head. She always beat her foot.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
And we bought her the heavy blanket, but that doesn't work.
That doesn't work. The heavy blanket.
No.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah. So, when she is having a tantrum, is somebody saying stop doing that, or is she
Right. So we tried not to say stop
right?
it or what happened, because the more you say it, the more she gets she should do it.
Exactly. Exactly.
Sometimes her father her father will lie on her, give her that hard.
Do you find that that is helping?
Little bit, and some of the time I walk away from her and leave her, let she finish, let she cry out, let she get out
That's
of it.
Yeah, that's exactly what I would have done. When they do have tantrums, it's best to remove yourself from that, because if you respond to the tantrum, then they're
Right,
getting the attention that they're seeking, and they'll continue
right.
that behavior. So you have to be very careful. Also, you don't want them to get
Hurt
hurt.
themselves. Yeah,
Yes. So you have to make sure that there's nothing that that can fall on them, or uh,
right.
that they could use to hurt themselves. You have to be sure. But to
Okay.
remove stimuli is very important. And it sounds like you're doing an excellent job with introducing food.
Yeah, I really do.
Yes. I applaud you. That's very good that you're
Thank
doing.
you.
Yes,
I have a
extremely.
question, Sonia. Was it her parents that give in to her and let her feed eat just the Doritos and the popcorn
Oh,
and not real food? Was it
no, what
easier when
happened?
you got there?
N-
How did
n-
she
n-
get eating
Somebody's
those?
buying
no,
it.
no, what happened when at 6 years old, she used to only drink from a bottle, only milk from a bottle. She never used to eat food, nothing. And when I came to the job, and she only used to wear Pampers and only pajamas. So now I get her out of all those things. So she have a special teacher who is helping her to eat. So she started so she's right now it's slowly. And from she's small, she's been eating these chips.
Mhm.
She can't eat the food. She's not gonna eat it. We give her fish, she vomit. She don't eat food. She don't eat rice. She don't eat nothing, pasta, nothing, bread, nothing. Only chips. We have one box of every type of chips.
Oh, so it's like it's reinforcing itself. First of all, she
Yeah.
wouldn't have the chips unless somebody bought it for her. So
Yeah, but if we don't, that's one of the problem. What should we give her then? Because we really don't really want her to have a meltdown.
right, but you also want the meltdowns, it'll get worse before it gets better. By you just letting her having a meltdown and walking away from the situation, it will escalate, but eventually it will de-escalate because you're not responding to her tantrums. You're,
Right.
you
Yeah, but
know,
Sonia, you're gonna have to try. I know it's gonna be difficult, but to get her away from those chips, or if they could get her, somebody introduce her to those chips like the Doritos to
yeah.
calm her down somewhere. And now she's hooked. So if they can slowly wean her off by getting organic chips and wean off the organic, get the organic chips and like sweet potato chips instead of the Idaho with the salt.
No,
But
she's not going to eat them. What I know, even though she like these chips, what I
yes.
do, I try to reduce them. And the yogurts, now she's eating a lot of yogurts, like 6, 7, 8. So I try to
Well, that's
reduce it because I will try to give her less and try to give her the egg. Okay, now she's eating pancake, so I will give her pancake and egg. That's the most things that she's doing, and the yogurt. And now I
Okay.
started the juice.
So how about grapes? If you give her the grapes or something, she don't eat banana, she'll eat
No,
those?
banana, orange, and apples she will eat.
Okay.
Yeah.
It sounds like she has a varied diet, and that you're reducing the chips is very, very important, that you reduce the
Yeah.
chips,
Yes. Yeah.
regardless of how many are in the cupboard. You just make sure.
Right. I don't put them in the cupboard. I hide them from her.
Oh yeah.
So whenever she goes to camp, she always come back home very skinny because because the house is hers. She have access to the stuff, but when she goes to camp, she don't have access to the thing. So she come back really skinny, but she don't eat.
Oh, okay.
All right. Okay.
Yes,
All right.
thank
So
you.
thank you. Thank you so much, Sonia. You're doing a good job. If you can get her
Yeah.
to eat from chips and introducing the juice, so she's getting her vegetable in drink form, that is good. And the yogurt is good, and the banana, apples, and oranges is good, and reduce the amount of chips. That is good. That's a marked improvement from just chips and milk. So you're doing a good job with that. God bless you. You have to have a love for children and your job to take care of those special needs children. You have to love them like your own and treat them like your own. And you're doing a good job. God bless you for that. All right. Pauline had her hand up before you, Rachel. So Pauline, go ahead with her comment, and then Rachel.
Hello, everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Monique, you had asked the question about where how they get autism, like where it comes from.
Yeah, what
I remember
causes autism, right? Somebody was asking. Yeah.
Because that's not in our family. For Ali, when Alia gets pregnant with the twins, that's when we found out that the twins' grandmother, she has one of the twins' dad has a brother, and he is autistic. That's her first child. So I remember she came here and I was talking to her. I said, "Is there someone in your family with it?" She said, "No." So I said, "How we got it?" And she told me that when she was younger, her mom, she didn't have a good relationship with her mom. So she just kept running away and just kept running away. She would sleep on the street, sleep in old building, just wherever she lays her head. So the doctor told her that is the pesticide from those buildings and off the street and stuff.
Oh, that caused her son to get autism.
Yes, and then it trickled down and my grandbaby, because that's her grandbaby too. The worst thing, not the worst thing about it, what I noticed with Mason, he has so much characteristic of this lady. Mason would never eat anything green. You can't even give him something green to drink out of. No green vegetable, nothing green. That's the same thing with her. You could squash it, mash it, whatever. And the lady that was just talking about that little girl and the chip, Mason is now 7 going 8, and he will never, if he doesn't want it, he will starve first. He will go days, weeks. He will never eat something if he doesn't want it. He will never eat it. Doesn't matter. Like the little girl with the chips, I guess they're giving her yogurt and stuff like that. No, Mason not gonna eat it. He eats the same thing every time he comes here. He wants hot dog and he wants scrambled eggs and steak and mashed potato. That's it. Nothing else, no vegetable, no fruit, nothing. He picks it, he holds it like this, just pick it like, oh, ew. No, he's not eating it. But that's where she said it came from. The doctor told her that the pesticide from all the old buildings she used to sleep in affect her immune system. And it's like a maternal immune system disorder. And that's where she got it from. And she gave it to her son. And for some reason, I mean, Leah got it. So
it trickled down.
I guess so, yeah.
All right. Okay. Because I know people like you, but I've known people like even Nadine, who was on yesterday, and they have children, and there is no autism on either side of the family. And then some, and they say, where did this thing come from? But like she was saying, they really don't know, because now the diagnostics tools have gotten better. And like you said, if this woman was in a place that have mold or leaky water and rusty pipes and just sleeping on the ground, and the baby is in her belly and didn't realize she was harming her children, But anyway, they're special and they're here. Okay, Rachel, now thank you so much. Rachel, go ahead.
Okay. As I was saying, I know that the autism, persons with autism, they're actually special children, and it's kind of difficult to get them to accept a certain diet. And I was also listening to Pauline, and I know it's a challenge as well, with the type of food that is it your relative, Pauline? Is it related to you, the baby that you spoke about, or the child with the autism? I'm not sure, but even some of those foods that he's consuming.
It's my grandbaby.
Oh, your grandbaby. Yeah. Like constantly taking those like every day, that too can actually lead to health issues later. But so I'm not sure if there are other ways, like you can actually consult with a dietitian to see how you could make the food look probably like colorful, or like changing how you probably present it. So if for the other parent that said that the child didn't eat the chicken, I'm not sure if she had tried different ways of doing the chicken, or crushed Irish, crushed pumpkin, some other different types of food, and kind of probably like puree the protein, or probably, I'm not sure if they probably made it a little more crispy, like the chips, but the chips really is unhealthy. But I'm happy that the child is actually consuming other things. But she was saying now that the child is getting fruits. So what you could probably do is give the fruit more commonly than these empty calories that have MSG and other stuff that can actually cause cancer and other things. I'm not sure about the vegetable. What about vegetables? Do they eat vegetables? Can you find like probably other ways to make the vegetable more attractive and so on, to see if they could have it, or you could blend it in juice?
This is what I do.
That's what I'm thinking.
This is what I do. This is what I do when he comes here. This is what I do, and I don't think he realized, because I use the pretty packages, nothing green. But the baby food in the pouches.
Okay.
The stage, the one for like stage, the bigger kids, and it's vegetables and fruits and stuff like that. I'll give that to him, and he'll eat like a little piece of banana. But anything else, he has a dietitian, all of that stuff, and she told us that when we give Macy stuff that he doesn't like, and he's looking at it, it's not food to him. It's like germs. It's like something disgusting. He's not seeing what we're seeing. Remember, their little brain is different from ours. He thinks, you trying to kill me? What is that you're giving me? And he's like, no, that's disgusting. He's not gonna eat it, no matter. So I'll give him pouches, and it's in pretty packages. And I tell them this: anything Nana gives you, it's filled with love. So when I cook for them, I say, what's the ingredient? Love. And that's all.
I'm thinking even when you make the food colorful, it's still a problem.
With Mason, no, he's not eating it.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
Not eating it.
What are the foods that he is rejecting again?
My Mason, he doesn't like anything green.
Oh, it's right. It's like
anything green, but yet he's not gonna still eat grapes and watermelon. The only fruit Mason eats is if I give him a banana, he'll eat half of it. But I try mango, I try everything. So I just give him the pouches when he's here. And he's healthy. He's extremely healthy. He's a big, strong, healthy boy.
I think you're
doing. I always worry. I worry about child with diabetes because he likes the mashed potato. So I worry about that.
Okay.
So that's all he eats: mashed potato and steak.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Would he eat the sweet potato?
No.
If you put the carrots, because I know someone who should get
carrots
to eat carrots by squashing the carrots in the potato and make it orange potato.
I used to
No,
hide peas in the mashed potatoes for
Hide
myself.
peas in the mash. Yeah, can you hide it in anything in there?
no,
He's not
he's
gonna
not
eat
eating
it?
it. No, and I think honestly, I think my daughter has the twin boys. They're gonna
Yeah.
be 8, and our daughter gonna be 6. And I honestly think all of them are challenged because it's the worst when they come here. You have to cook 3 meals for the 3 of them, 3 different meals. Mason eats steak and mashed potato. His brother eats rice and and steak, and the baby eats steak and macaroni and cheese. 3 different every time they come.
Carbohydrates.
Yes, yes, they're not eating the same thing. I just get the baby to start eating a little broccoli. The twins,
Oh,
they're not eating that. No, I think they're all challenged though.
you think they're all.
I kind of think. I think
George
so.
Bush says you will never get him to eat broccoli, and he was president of the United States.
Yeah,
He was
yeah,
the president, and he said, you're gonna have to kill me to get me to eat broccoli. And he was president, so
yeah.
they're in good company if they don't eat broccoli. I have a sister that she said, I'm not a rabbit. I don't eat greens because I'm not a rabbit, because she just hates anything green. And if it was a vegetable, she's not gonna eat a vegetable. Even some stores like the health food store and the whole food, they have apples crisps, and they have apples, dried apples, and the dried figs, and they have the fruits in dried forms. So there are different ways you can try and trick these children to get them to eat. Like I remember when one of my friend daughter would not drink milk, and she was getting crazy because this girl refused breast milk, anything white. She would
Wow.
not eat it. And I took her to the doctor for her. And the doctor says, just give her things with calcium. So she would eat the ice cream, but chocolate ice cream, but she wouldn't drink milk. So she got the calcium and the protein from ice cream and cakes and things that she liked. So you just have to find different ways to get the same minerals and vitamin in a different form. And here Sonia is saying that you cannot smell their food. Why you cannot smell their food, Sonia? Come, raise back your hand and talk, because I'm learning here. We need to know. Sonia, why can't we smell their food? Raise your hands. All right, unmute yourself.
No, not we. They smell the food before they start eating it.
You mean they smell the food before they eat it?
Before they start, yes. And
Yes, they do.
it's really
Yes,
hard
they
for
do.
you to really get them to eat what they don't like. It's very challenging. They rather starve.
Or they
They're not
smell it
going to eat it.
first, and if it smells good, that's when they eat.
Yeah,
It's not a matter of smell good.
no,
It's
not
that
a matter of smell good, right? Yeah, it's
it's
not
their
a matter of smell
brain.
good.
It's just their brain. And just now you said something, Dr. Monica, about doing this and doing this. We got to remember that we don't want to call them not normal, but they're
Yeah.
not like us. They have
Yeah.
different brains. So it's not that simple. I've given them what and mashing up this and hiding this.
Yeah.
Mason is extremely intelligent. He wants to be an engineer. You cannot fool Mason. You put the food before him and he look at it, he pick it and he turn it around and he look at it and it like a hill. He poke inside and he smell it and then he put up his thumb. Thanks, Nana. I see the love. You can't fool him. Oh no, you can't hide nothing in his food.
The other problem I have with
Yep.
The other problem? Oh, I can't hear you.
no, the other problem I have
yes.
with my child is that she don't like to go to the doctor nor the dentist.
Right.
She's scared. She cries. She give me a tantrum. So now we have to put her each time when she goes to the dentist to clean or anything. We have to put her under anesthesia. That's
Right.
another problem I have with her.
But yesterday we had talked about the noise. I think it was Pauline talking about when her grandson flushed the toilet, he covers his ears so he could not hear the noise. So the drilling and all those equipment in the dentist's office would drive that poor girl crazy and that's why
She don't
she's
even want to
coping
sit
with
in the
it.
chair. Once she reaches the office, she knows that she's going to the doctor. Then she don't want to go inside. She don't even see the chair.
And because they're not stupid. She's smart. She know the sign.
Exactly.
She see the dentist. She know where you're bringing her.
She know the building.
She know the building where you're taking her.
Yeah.
And she know it's nothing good. And a lot of what you call regular people hate to go to the dentist, and they do worse. Because I remember when my brother went to the dentist, when the doctor give him the Novocaine, by the time the dentist came back, he was out of there. He ran. He ran out of the chair. Okay, so Pam, raise back your hand, Pam, and make your contribution. I don't. Oh, Pam. Okay, unmute yourself. Go ahead.
Good evening. My question is, I don't know if Lady Rachel, as a medical person here, can answer for me. My grandson, he's autistic, and the only thing that he'll have is porridge.
Okay.
Porridge, he loves that, and yes, as others mentioned, the chips as well. But I tried to get that from him because I know it's not healthy. And the chicken, he will have the chicken and a bit of fruits, but porridge every morning. I try to give him that before he goes to school. He'll be 5 in August. Yeah, so that's, I want to know if it's healthy for him to have that.
Absolutely.
What kind of porridge? My question would be, what kind of porridge?
Oats.
Oatmeal?
Yes, oatmeal.
It's very
Okay.
healthy.
That
It's
is healthy.
healthy. Just try to
That
cut
is
down on the
very
sugar,
healthy.
but it's healthy.
No sugar. I don't put sugar in there. No.
Yeah.
Well, that's even better that if he's drinking his oatmeal without sugar. That's good.
Okay, thank
And
you.
somebody was saying that they don't adapt to changes very well. So probably that's one of the reasons why they want the same thing over and over
All
again,
the
because
time,
they don't
right.
like change.
No, he doesn't. And he's, as others said, he smells a lot before he
They
eats
smell the food like everybody else says.
Yes.
Okay, that is
Yeah,
the
they
thing.
use their senses. Absolutely. They use their senses to make their world perfect. So he uses what it looks like, what it feels like on his mouth, what it tastes like, what it smells like. He's going to use all his senses to see, is this okay for me to eat, or is this going to make me sick? You know, so that's to be expected with the autistic. They use all
And
their-
Pam, does your child stir in the food like
my
Paul's
grandson.
grandbaby to look to see what's in it? Your grandson? He stirs in it to see what you're hiding in it, if you're hiding anything? We're not hearing. Okay, her thing probably gone down. Okay,
Sorry,
so yes. Does
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question. I'm
does
sorry.
he look into the food like Pauline grandbaby? Is he looking to see if you have anything inside of it before he eats it, or he just
Yes.
stir it to smell it?
He smells, he assesses the food, he just spin everything around before he
Spin
eats.
it around.
Yes.
So it's not easy to trick them if you're trying to put something in
No,
it.
it's not easy.
No, I can't trick him. But another thing that I noticed, this is not for food, but he loves his phone. He doesn't speak much. He's just getting in terms of speaking, he's just getting there. But he knows using the mobile phone, he's very good at that.
Oh, be careful,
Yeah.
because that could withdraw a child if they learn how to use different applications and games and that sort of thing. That will
Yes.
withdraw them from their environment. And you don't want that. You want them to interact socially with you, with another child,
Yes.
interact, not to withdraw.
Yes.
So you should limit the amount of time that he spends on the technology as far as the iPhone is concerned.
Absolutely. I think so as well. Yes. Thanks for that.
That is very true. Mason, all 3 kids had iPads, and you couldn't get Mason to come eat. He wakes up, the iPad, goes to the bathroom, he leaves the lights on, water running, his face is the iPad. You're talking to him. I took it 3 months now. We just took it away from him. I said, Mason, we can't do this. You can't walk and chew at the same. You cannot do this. And we took it. He had a meltdown, but guess what? He's fine. Because I tell him it's not. Yeah,
It'll get
I took
worse
it from
before
him.
it gets better. Yes.
Yeah.
It'll work.
Took it from him, and I told Alia no more. I'm not gonna say never, but right now I don't see giving Mason any iPad. Probably when he's 15, not right now at 8. No.
Oh, wow. Very good.
No. You Mason eating, and the fork is going in his mouth with no food on it because his eye is in the iPad.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
in the shower, and he put
Oh.
the iPad. No, that wasn't good for me.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
so I took it away.
very good. Bravo for you. That's wonderful.
All right. Okay. Go, Rachel. I have a question. Go ahead.
Okay, so I just wanted to share because I remember Pauline was saying, I think it was Pauline saying about the environment, about pesticide.
Yes.
But what we're seeing now, though, is that most of the trend and disease condition that we see persons born in, being born with, like a lot of the mental retardation and stuff, it's not, most of it is not genetic. So, like usually autism spectrum diseases, you could find it like being something that is hereditary, like genetic, not necessarily so. No, because you have like the comorbidities that can cause it, like diabetes, obesity, as she mentioned, pesticide, air pollution naturally, poor antenatal care, because if somebody borns premature and so on, that in itself can actually cause it. You have some other genetical chromosomal disorder that actually sometimes the chromosome mutates and you don't really know why. Some of these things are actually idiopathic. There's no real cause. We don't really know. But some of them, it just happens. But I know that sometimes, especially like premature babies or babies with like extreme low birth weight, so sometimes it has to do with how the mother, the care that the mother receives during antenatal. And we're seeing once upon a time, we would say older mothers, but not necessarily so now, because the younger persons sometimes they don't want to eat what is good for them, and some of them don't usually get on board with the antenatal care as early as possible. So sometimes it's kind of some of the things that you would have picked up early and could actually treat or remedy that, you know, that process would actually have been missed out because they're either, you know, seeking antenatal care later than normal, or the entire perinatal care, like from the start of pregnancy to the point of delivery. Sometimes it's the whole process of delivery. You have to be careful with that too, with when the fetus is coming out and guiding the fetus so that the fetus doesn't get any head injury. So all of those things can actually cause a child to born with autism and other retardation problem or other problem that can actually affect somebody neurological status.
Rachel, can I ask you a question?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, something you said that is so true. I mean, everything you say is so true, but this is what the grandmother told me, and this is what she was 15 when she got pregnant with that boy. She never, the first time she went to the hospital was to have the baby, wow. And she snuck out of the hospital with the baby to a halfway house, I think. But my question is, how is it that it's her issue, and my grandbaby on my side get that? It's her issue, and she had her son with autism, right? And then my daughter got with her son, but he doesn't have autism. She has two sons, so one without autism. Now my daughter ends up having twins for them, and one of the babies is autistic.
But remember, sometimes most of the genetic conditions, sometimes they do skip a generation, so that can happen.
Gotcha, yeah.
So you can skip a generation, and sometimes even with twins, you will have one getting something and one not getting, because sometimes it depends on how the birth is. So if the birth is a precipitated labor, like the babies come out too fast, all of that, or you get to guide the baby coming out, all of that in itself.
No, Rachel, no. I'm asking you how it is. How did my grandbaby, right? My daughter have twins, but this woman's son, the son that doesn't have autism, how did my grandbaby end up with autism? You understand? She did.
The one that you said got pregnant at 15?
No, not my daughter. Okay, my daughter's kid's father, right? Mm-hmm. His mom was 15 when she, I guess, run away from home, or 12. She was bad. And she was 15, she got pregnant for this older guy. That's what she came to my house and told me. And she never get prenatal care. And she went to the hospital to have the baby, snuck out with the baby, because she knew they were going to take the baby away from her at such a young age. I went to live in some halfway house with this kid. Then she turned around and have 3 more regular kids. My daughter got pregnant for one of the regular kids, and one of the baby has autism. So I'm saying, if it was a DNA, if it's because she was in these building pesticides, mold and stuff, how did it come to my grandbaby? How I don't get it. How did he
Because
get
it would have been, and I'm saying that it is a lot of things. So it might not be your daughter would have been exposed to things. Remember that we mentioned air pollution naturally. So it doesn't have to be something, as I said, air pollution. So there can be other things that you're not seeing visible, or you're not probably paying attention to right now. You would have to actually look at her antenatal care as well. Like, I mean, in terms of when she started seeking antenatal care, as opposed to what are the risk factors she have? Did she have any underlying condition? What was her nutritional status like? Because that is important. Because most persons that you see are born with spina bifida and what you call it, scoliosis. Most of those babies are persons who would have actually been deprived of calcium. So most of these conditions that persons are born with, sometimes if they're not environmental factor or predisposing factor like other underlying condition that you have, like diabetes, hypertension, and so sometimes it's naturally air pollution, things that you would have actually been exposed to in the environment.
Okay.
As we mentioned as well, in terms of labor and delivery, that is very important, because as I mentioned to you, that sometimes when the babies are coming out, we have babies with forceps delivery, that you use a forceps to get them out in difficult delivery. And sometimes when they come out, the head shape a particular way because of that forceps. So the head basically now shaped like a forceps, kind of flat and look abnormal. So it's a lot of things that can actually cause that. So you might
The
say
reason
that
why I asked you
it's
that
actually
question, the
healthy,
reason why
but
I
she
asked you
might.
that question, yeah, the reason why I asked you that question, I was wondering if probably all her kids has autism, but only the first one is diagnosed with it. That's what I was wondering, because when Aliyah got pregnant at 19, my daughter, and I dreamt it this December that this girl had twin boys in her belly, and I went to her at Christmas Day. I said, Aliyah, you're pregnant with twin boys. She said, you're such a witch. That's what she said to me. How you know that? And then she admitted it. And let me tell you something, Aliyah had the perfect care with those 2 babies in her belly. I used to wake up like 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, cook, whatever. I took her to the doctor myself for 9 months. So then she had these 2 babies, and one came out with autism. So I was thinking that you would say the other grandparents, the first baby was diagnosed with autism, but maybe all her children had it. Why? Because why my grandbaby would have it? Maybe the kid's father had it too. He was just not diagnosed. So that's what I thought you would say.
So in terms of their behavior though, Pauline, have you noticed anything with their behavioral change?
My grandbabies?
No, man, like the father, right? It would have been the father, their father.
Yeah, they're all crazy. Yes.
So
yes, that's why I told you that. I think all three of my grandbabies.
Remember that some persons don't go unknown. Is a lot of persons actually have some of these problems that they are not really picked up.
Undiagnosed.
And if you don't really pick them up very early, they're not diagnosed early, then you would have missed them. So you don't really know. So if they're not diagnosed, you would see them probably funny and just probably say, persons would say that, you think they're mental, but you're not really sure what exactly is it. So
I know what he has. I know what he has, the kid's father. ADHD, he's bipolar, he's everything. She just went and got somebody that just messed up in the head and bring me 3 messed up grandbabies. But I love them.
So there are some traits there.
Yeah. He just wasn't diagnosed with autism. Yeah, but I know he has it.
So it doesn't have to be the autism that he would have, but the fact that he has those kind of pictures, because a lot of persons think that ADHD is just a normal thing, but ADHD has its place. It actually can cause learning deficiency, because you basically don't have the span to concentrate. Your level of concentration is actually lower than a normal person. So all of those factors actually can be passed down. So it's not necessarily that he has autism, but maybe now the baby gets autism, which is a form of that kind of spectrum disorder, because he has some form of mental retardation or some form of mental disorder then. So once you have a disorder, it doesn't have to be that they have the same disorder. but one
Mhm.
disorder can actually lead to a next genetically,
That's it.
naturally. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you,
All right.
Rachel.
You're
We
welcome.
can go on and on. iPhone, please put back your hands up and go and make your contribution because we're over our time, but this is so interesting. iPhone, please put up your hand, and then I'm coming back to Monique, because how can the church help? What can we do for the parents? How can we help the children? iPhone, please raise back your hands. And then I'll let Monique. We're going to have to come back with this because we need to help these children and the parents in the church. And if we don't know how, yeah, thank you so much for waiting. Go ahead and make your contribution.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. I'm a
Yeah.
teacher, and I have two daughters, and the second one had autism. I have a nephew also with autism, and he's mildly verbal, doesn't speak much. But I can speak of my daughter. She was diagnosed at around 5.5 with a speech deficit. And it kind of take me aback. And the only reason why I asked them to check to see exactly what was going on was because my eldest, by about 2.5, 3, she was reading and doing everything. And I did the same thing, the same method I used with her with my second daughter, younger daughter. It wasn't working at all. I would do it with her, and then in a second I would go back and, to see if she actually retain it. And she would just look at me dumbfounded, like, what are you talking about? And I realized that something is really wrong with the child. She's not learning at all. So I had asked for her to do an evaluation, and they were kind of dragging their feet, taking their little time. But me being persistent, they gave me the paperwork, and I took her and I had it done. And the diagnosis came back that she had a speech deficit. Now, because the child is verbal and speak very well, in my mind, I'm saying, how could she have a speech deficit? The child speaks very well. And, I think I'll do some research to figure out exactly what I was dealing with. I realized it was cognitive.
You're sounding a bit low. Speak up closer to the phone.
I realized that it was more cognitive than just the speech issue itself. Whatever was going on with the brain, the speech was good. You know what I mean? The child could speak back and understand, some things that was said, but she was retaining everything to give back. And so I did my research. I realized it's cognitive. I realized that the child would have learning wouldn't be easy, but it comes with repetition. So I basically spoke to her teachers and the other teams that were working with her in the education system. Whatever you do in the daytime with her, make copies and send it home so I could do it with her at home. And I would take her home in the evening, and I would be cooking, and I had to go over everything. Basically, she was in first grade, and we were doing like pre-K words and, trying to get her to understand those words, to move her into reading just the basic books, trying to build her back up to get to the level that she was on. And it actually worked. It worked. Once she catch on though and started to read at a pre-K level, it was easy to push her into a kindergarten and bring her into first grade before she graduated first grade. It can be done. She stayed with an IEP until she was in fourth grade, and they retested her, realized that she didn't need it anymore, and they took it from her. But I'm
Wow.
saying for some children, if the parent doesn't do the research and get to understand what's going on the spectrum, it's very hard to help the child to recuperate. And if you leave it and the child gets to a certain age, it's as if everything is lost. It doesn't make any sense after that, trying to gain, you know what I mean? What the child needs to gain, it's like it's lost. So we're working with the spectrum, and we're working with time. And so I believe that, and another thing is, I believe that most African Americans or Black people basically have an issue with children being born with autism. They don't want to discuss it. They don't want to have anybody to notice or know about it. They're ashamed of it. And it's not supposed to be so. The sooner you find out that the child is dealing with an issue, is the better. You get the services, their occupational therapy, speech therapy, physical therapy, all kind of therapy. They give them swimming, all kind of stuff. Get them to start getting, what they deserve and to catch up. But if you keep on telling yourself as a parent that nothing is wrong with my child, and I hear it a lot, nothing is wrong with my son, nothing is wrong with my daughter, I'm not gonna do this, I'm not gonna do that, the child is fine. And we watch the child just come up and lost everything because the parent just wouldn't admit that there's something wrong. So that's another issue, getting mostly our people, Black people, to realize it's nothing to be ashamed and to do something about it.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much. And I'm going to hand over to Monique now to make the closing remarks. And look what this mother did. She reinforced the teaching from the school teacher, and her daughter learned very well. That's amazing.
It's truly amazing.
Yes.
We're going to talk about steps to help your child with autism at church.
Yes. How can we help them from a church now?
Yeah. Oftentimes the parents feel shamed when they have a child with autism that is acting up during a service. And what we have to do is educate the congregation and remind them to extend grace to these children, to accept the fact that they are not misbehaving. I saw a t-shirt that said, "I'm not misbehaving, I have autism, please be understanding." So the congregation has to be taught to extend grace to these parents because they are suffering. Also, during church, if there's loud music or bright lights, that can trigger a discomfort and some outbursts. That's why a sensory room would be best to have for these children, where they can experience the teachings of the Bible on their pace in a quiet room. Another thing is to have like a buddy system, in another person in the church who can sit with the child and be another motivator for the child to behave in an acceptable way during the service, or go to that sensory room with that person. And also while they're in the sensory room, or even when they're with the general congregation, to offer visuals. That's how they learn, which I mentioned before, like a board book or a storybook to learn about the Bible. They need to have that. But I can't imagine an autistic child being able to sit through a service with the singing and the loud noise
and the drums and the music. Hour and a half, 2 hours. It will drive them crazy.
Right, it would be just too much. That's why a sensory room that is with nice seating, a few manipulatives that they can play with, a storyboard where they can be taught about the Bible, something in a quiet situation, low lights, no noise. This is very important. I know that somebody mentioned having headphones. That sometimes works, but sometimes it doesn't, because they don't like to have the pressure on their ears. So it depends on the headphones. It does work to block out noise, but sometimes they just don't want anything touching them. So that's also, it sometimes works and it's sometimes not. So as far as the church is concerned, the fellow congregants in the church should really have an open heart for these parents and to show them support. And the church should have a sensory room for these children with trained staff, which is very important. That, what would work with the typical child is not going to work with a child that has ASD. So like I said yesterday, is that punishment doesn't work. That's just reinforcing. And if you scold them, they're still getting the attention that they want. Whereas with a typical child, if they're scolded, they might stop that behavior. So what I was leading to is that the staff has to be very well trained when they're in the sensory room for the autistic. and to learn their lessons. This is what I'm thinking as far as, I know that in my church, when my children were little, they did have a separate room to teach the young ones because it was too much to expect. And they were so-called typical children. It was too much to expect them to sit an hour and a half with the singing and everything going on and behave themselves. So we would have them in a separate room with the teacher, and they would learn the Bible and so forth. But in those days, they didn't have sensory rooms for autistic children, not like they do in some churches. They have it now, and that's what I know that does work, is having these sensory rooms for autistic. And then the parents can enjoy the service and relax and know and be involved and not feel. I'm sure that there's parents thinking that I'm not going to go to church today because my little one is having a meltdown and I don't want to go to church and make a scene and be a distraction. So I'm not going to go. That's the saddest thing, that they're not being part of the church because of that. When we can help them say, hey, I'll take care of your little one. You enjoy the service and your little one will be safe with us. We'll work with you. If we need you, we'll contact you, but we're trained. We know how to handle your little one. Long time ago, when I was first in the field, I was director of an intermediate care facility for the developmentally disabled, severely. And we went to one church, and the church actually turned their back on us and said to us, you're too much of a distraction, and we don't want you to come to this church, which I was appalled. I thought that all churches welcomed you with open arms. But we went to another church. We had to take 2 cabs to get there. It cost us a lot of money, but the church was all welcoming. And when we came there, big open arms, and we weren't the big distraction. We sat in the back, but if one of them wanted to sing along off key, they welcomed it. It's just, they are also participating in their own way. Maybe they're not singing at the right times, but they are just participating in their own way. And that was before thinking about sensory rooms for autistic children. So it depends on how the congregation responds to the parents and the children, and they have to be educated and know that, show some grace and extend grace and be kind to these parents and try to help them, reach out to help them, ask them if they need help. And that's the best thing to do as a community, as a church community. I would imagine that would be very important. Yeah.
I thank you so much. We're 20 minutes over the time.
Doesn't matter.
We have to continue this because I think we have just scratched the surface. We have just scratched the surface. And I want to thank you so much for being here and teaching us and open our eyes and open up our understanding about special children. Amen. Because God made them, and God don't make junk. And they're not junk. God made man, and we were the crown of all his creation. Man was the crowning joy. They're not junk. God don't make no junk. So they are precious and beautiful in his sight, and he died for them. And when he look at them, he just look at it. Those are my beloved children. And we have to treat them the way God would treat them, that they're his children. And that's all they are, children that want love and acceptance. Amen. And I hope we will learn now to be more opening and more in inviting to people who have challenges and or disabilities, and say, thank you, God, that's not me, but God, I'm so grateful. What can I do to help that person? Amen. Like you said, grace. It could have been me, but you spare me, God. So how can I help the next person? And that's what we're here to do, to help each other. And I want to thank you so much. We're going to have to call you back again. We're going to have more discussions because this is exciting, and we need to learn more about the different kind of challenges that children have. That most people know Down syndrome, but we need to go beyond that now to the Tourette's and the Asperger's and all these other things that you're talking about, that and the ADHD and the other thing that we can do. Instead of saying you're bad, you're misbehaving, you're not bad. You're just learning at a fast rate and the teacher teaching at a slow rate. And there's a disconnect. You have to go teach me faster and teach me quicker. Amen. So we have to be more understanding. This is the last Tuesday in May. On Thursday, it's going to be June 1st. And Tuesday and Thursday, we're going to talk about women in business. And we're kicking off with Sister Geraldine Michelle. We're still going to talk about women, and we're going to, and anytime a presenter cannot make it and drop out, we're going to drop in some of these things, because we need to be more understanding and receptive of those who are not exactly like us. Amen. Because everybody wants to be accepted for who they are.
Yeah,
and
we all
we're
want
all
more.
a little bit crazy. We're all a little bit crazy. It's just that some of us more crazy than the others, but we all a little bit crazy. Amen. So God bless you all. Thank you so much, Monique. It was a pleasure having you with us. I enjoyed these 2 days. And remember, you can share these videos on Facebook, Monica Jones Ministries, YouTube, Monica Jones Ministries. Share it with people that need to know. And remember the book, The Reason I Jumped, a 13-year-old autistic boy who was able to be an author at 13. You tell me that's not inspiring. The Reason I Jumped. We all need to be jumping right now. Praise God. So see you on Thursday, God's willing. And thank you so much for being here with us. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Bye-bye.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much.